All right, welcome to the Managers edition of the Clubhouse Podcast. This is episode 8, I think. Yeah. And it's me, Zach Priest, with Lukas Anderson, and we have the Salem Senators manager, Dave Wong. How you feeling?
Excellent.
Yeah, there you go.
Sun's shining. Good day.
Yeah, big weekend ahead of us, too. This is the final weekend of the regular season. Some pretty big games.
Some tight playoff races coming up here.
Yeah. I guess we can just jump right into it.
Yeah.
You know, Dave, where'd you grow up? Are you from the area? What's the early life of Dave Wong look like?
Yeah, I grew up on Oahu, so in Pearl City, Hawaii. You know, grew up there and went all the way through high school. Enjoyed my time there, but came up here to go to college and pretty much never left. So I've been here for 40 some odd years and enjoy Oregon.
There you go.
What was the recruitment process like in high school? How did you find your way to Willamette?
Well, there's a lot of local players, a lot of Hawaii players up here, you know, due to the small colleges at the time. You know, they were all NAI at the time, with Pacific, Lewis and Clark, you know, Willamette, Linfield, Puget Sound, PLU, all those schools. They pretty much all recruited Hawaii pretty heavily. Central Washington came over. So there's a bunch of college coaches, but mostly small college coaches there. You know, obviously there's some big time guys there that ended up at big time schools, but you know, in my situation, it was just, you know, a chance to play 2 sports actually, with both football and baseball, which I really wanted to do.
Okay. Is that so? Were those the 2 sports that you played growing up, or was there anything else? Or
yeah, pretty much. I mean, I pretty much stuck with football and baseball. I ended up playing soccer in high school just because there's so many guys playing basketball. I said, "The hell with it, I'll just go play soccer and just pass the time away." So I did that and had a good time with that. But yeah, I was basically a football, baseball guy all the way through since I was, you know, 9 years old, 8 years old.
What positions did you play in both of those sports all the way through?
Yeah, baseball, I pretty much played every position but catcher.
Okay.
I can say I played every outfield position, every infield position. I never caught.
Right.
Yeah, and I won't till this day. You can't pay me enough.
Not your thing.
Yeah. But football is basically a lineman, an offensive and defensive lineman.
Okay.
what was your favorite position in both sports? What did you like the most?
Well, I mean, I obviously liked playing first base a lot. That was a fun position in baseball, but I was drafted as a pitcher, and so obviously that was where I excelled the most. But football, I loved playing defense. I played D-line, and yeah, I just had a blast all the way through college. And I really had an opportunity to go that route if I wanted to, because I got invited to camps by a few teams. That was Seattle, Dallas, Green Bay. They all invited me up to their camps. But at the end of my junior year, I was pretty much fed up with school, and I really wasn't into it, and I just wanted to play, so I decided to go sign with baseball.
There you go.
Yeah, so what was that process like, signing with MLB team? What teams were talking to you? How did that all play out?
Yeah, I signed with the Royals, got drafted in the 19th round. I've talked to many clubs, but you know, obviously I ended up signing with the Royals. It was the team that drafted me, and like I said, I was so sick of school, I was going to go no matter what.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty much like, what's it going to take to sign you? Should give me a ticket, I'm out of here.
So did you end up coming back to graduate, or did you leave school your junior year?
I left my junior year, came back, played 5 years. Played a couple winters down in Columbia, down in South America, a couple winter leagues.
Wow.
Played in the instruction league. Randy was, Canute was umpiring down in
really?
Columbia when I was playing, actually. And Casey, the head coach of Oregon State, was also playing at the time. He was playing on the teams down there, too. We played against each other for years all the way through college. We were both, at the same time. So it was kind of a crazy – baseball's kind of a crazy world. I mean, if you're in the game, pretty much know everybody that's in the game. So
yeah.
It's kind of fun. But football was basically my first love. I really loved football. But like I said, I went out and played baseball. And after I got done, then I did come back and finished up.
Yeah.
I graduated in 86 after starting in 77. And I actually got a chance to play my last year of football in 85. When I was like 26 years old. So,
because you're so eligible?
Yeah, NAI has a different ruling from NCAA, where the NCAA, you got 5 years to complete your 4 years of eligibility.
Yeah.
NAI had a 10-semester rule.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, I was still within that boundary.
That makes sense.
You were older playing against college guys. What was that like?
It was fun. I was back in Willamette, so I knew a lot of the guys.
Yeah.
But I was new to a lot of those guys. The coaching changes already taking place by the time I came back. But I had a blast. Yeah, a good time.
So, I guess, how do you end up back in Oregon after your professional sports playing days? Was it to go back to school? Was that the reason? Okay.
Yeah, that was the catch. I ended up going back home after I got released and spent, probably 6-7 months at home and decided, well, I better get back to school. And I knew I had a year left of football, so I went back home and trained and got back and decided to come back and play football and finish up my degree. And then also took a job as the assistant baseball coach at the time. So that's where I started my baseball coaching in 1986 at Willamette University.
So that's a good start. Yeah, so kind of talk us through your coaching career. You said it started at Willamette. What was the next steps? What was your journey like as a coach?
Yeah, I was at Willamette for 2 years, in 86 and 87 as an assistant. And then I got an assistant job at the University of Portland with Terry Polish. And Terry Polish was in touch with Bill Trumbett, who was my head coach at Willamette University, and he put in a good word for me there and got me up to the University of Portland. So I coached with him for a couple of years, and kind of decided to go get a real job because it was pretty much not very well paid job.
Yeah.
At the time back in 1988, it wasn't getting a whole lot of money. So I worked out at McLaren for a year, and then the head job at Willamette opened up, and at the time, my ex-coach, Bill Trumbett, ended up becoming the athletic director there, and he kind of talked me into taking that head job at Willamette. So that's where my real coaching started.
Yeah. What was it like coaching at your alma mater for so many years?
It was fun. I mean, especially having the AD as the person that I looked up to and as a guy I can lead on. It was pretty good for me there. I liked it, enjoyed it, and after he left, they brought in another guy, and I guess they decided to make it, go in a different direction. They hired somebody else, and so I was out of job. But then I just started helping out at Sprague, which was where my son was playing at the time. So I coached there for a couple of years, and got a call from Coach Casey and Oregon State, and said, "Hey, why don't you come down and help us out?" And this was 2005, and I said, "Well, let me talk to Joey and see what he has to say." And I talked to my son, and I said, I got a job at Oregon State. I can go down there and help out there. I can stay here and help you guys at Sprague. Mm-hmm. It was his junior year that just won the state championship in football that year. Mm-hmm. He was the quarterback in that team, and then he was the shortstop in baseball.
Wow.
And so he said, "Well, why don't you just stay and help us out?"
Yeah.
I said, "Okay." So I called Case back, said, "Hey, I'm just going to hang out with Joey." He said, "All right, no big deal." So we won the state championship that spring, and then Oregon State goes to the World Series. I'm like, shit, I could have been in Omaha. But they went 2-0. They lost to Baylor and somebody else. I forget who they lost to, but they went 2-0, so I didn't feel too bad.
Yeah, that was in 05.
Yeah, that was in 05. And then in the meantime, Joey had already committed to Oregon State, and so the job opened up again in 06 as the restricted earnings job. So, I called Case and said, "Hey, the job's open." He said, "Yeah, you want to come down?" I said, "Sure, I'm coming." I said, "Okay." So locked it in. I said, "Joey, I see you next year." Yeah. I'm going down to Oregon State. And then, the rest of it's history. I mean, we go on to win the Pac-10 that year and win the national championship. So it was beautiful.
So what was it like coaching your son at such a prestigious program?
It was incredible.
Yeah.
That was probably the highlight of my coaching career. Being able to have him playing in the College World Series, having my folks in the stand, relatives there. I mean, it was nothing better.
Yeah.
And then to win it all on top of it, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I mean, what was that like, playing in the College World Series and helping your team get there, and then the emotions of winning it all? What was that all like?
Yeah, I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, in 06 was just unbelievable because we just had an unbelievable run. We won the Pac-10. We had a really good club. Mm-hmm. And then, we ended up losing the first game to Miami in the College World Series and have to come back to the elimination route and won the next 4, I think, games to get into the championship game. Then we lost to North Carolina in the 2 out of 3 championship, and then we were down 5-0 in game 2. And they started selling North Carolina championship shirts out in the stadium. Yeah. National championship out in the stadium. We came back and beat them, and then beat them the next night, and we ended up being the national champions. But the sad part was Joey he never got a chance to go. So my son never got a chance to go see the World Series. He was back in Joplin, Missouri, trying out for the junior national team, and so he never saw the game, never got out to the game. So I was kind of bummed about that. And then in 07, we kind of subpar year. I think we finished like 5th in the pack, and we were kind of lucky to get in. Yeah. We went to Virginia for the regionals, and we won our first one and lost our second one, and we were kind of struggling a little bit. And Virginia was looking pretty good, and they'd end up getting a couple injuries, and then we got hot, and all of a sudden it's like the dugout just turned around, and it was like there was no way we were going to lose again. And then we didn't, and we ended up playing Michigan in the super regionals, and Michigan was in the regionals with Vanderbilt, which had David Price and those guys, and they were just phenomenal.
Wow.
They were the number one seed in the nation at that time.
Yeah.
So Michigan started construction on their stadium, and so when they won that regional, they actually should have hosted the Super Regional.
Oh.
But because they started construction, they were unable to host it there. So then they came to our place, and that was a crazy game because they had one guy, their number one starter, their Friday guy was really good. I mean, he had us in the no-nos through 8 2/3. Okay, so we got a 0-0 game, Super Regional, game 1, 0-0, 8 2/3. He walks the guy. We pinch run Baden Wells. He steals second base. Joey gets the base hit him in the 6-0, and we win 1-0. And then, the rest is history. We go to the World Series and win 5 straight, and it's over. We win it all. It's absolutely nuts.
What MLB guys were on that Oregon State team that you coached and went on to play in the league?
Cole Gillespie was there. Darren Barney, obviously. Mitch went on to play. Chris Kunda went on to play. Jonah Nickerson. Lefty. He's up here. Why can I not think of his name now?
And for the Mariners?
No, he's up here in Portland coaching.
Oh, I have no idea.
Were you there at the same time as Jacoby Ellsbury, or was that before
Jacoby
you?
left the year before.
Okay,
05
gotcha.
was his last year.
Got you.
Yeah.
How many championships did you end up winning?
We won 2 back-to-back.
Back-to-back? That's
07,
crazy.
yeah, I was there for both those. It was a wild ride, crazy. But just about everybody, I think just about everybody on the team. I mean, I know that every infielder that played in Oregon State, when Marty was coaching, all signed professional contracts.
Wow.
Every one of them. It was crazy. He did a really good job. Marty did a good job. So it was absolutely nuts. But Kevin Gunderson.
Gotcha. Okay.
I mean, Eddie Coons, that was first rounder. I mean, all those guys were there. So it was pretty phenomenal.
So when did the stint with Oregon State come to a close, and what did you go on to after that coaching wise?
08, it was my last year there when Spence and Dan Spence, who was actually doing the pitches at the time, and Marty Leeds left to take other jobs, obviously. And then so I moved into the pitching spot, which was, they had really no one there, which was pretty tough for a restricted guy because I'm not there all the time. So, I think he hired Pat Bailey as the next full-time assistant, and I don't think he wanted to do the pitchers, and so I ended up being thrust into the pitching job. But that was my last year there in 08, and then after that I just started doing lessons. Well, I've been doing lessons since 2005, but I just kept on doing lessons and just kind of hanging out and working with kids. So,
There you go.
yeah.
So how'd you end up in the Mavericks League? How did that come about?
Well, Mickey called and said they were putting together this league and we're looking for some coaches, and he was naming off some guys. And when I found out that they were going to have Alan here, and Tony, and Danny, who was the next Oregon State guy who I coached back there as well, coming in, I said, well, yeah, hell, I'll do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So here last year, I guess one of our big questions we've asked the couple Senators players that we've had on here, what do you think the biggest difference is in the Senators team from last year and this year? Because it's been a big turnaround.
Well,
you guys
we're playing a hell of a lot better defense.
Yeah.
That's the biggest one. We're pitching it better. We're playing better defense. I mean, we swung it all right last year as well as this year. But I mean, obviously we swung a little better this year. But defensively, it's just night and day, right? We're making plays that we should be making, and we're making a lot more solid defense, and we're pitching a lot better.
Oh, for sure.
Which player has surprised you the most this season on your own team?
Well, I mean, just coming back, I knew Edgar could hit. He was a great hitter last year, but I tell you, Garrett really has done a really good job. I mean, that guy's just been phenomenal in either the 1 or 2 spot all year long. He's just been so consistent for us. Garrett Mosier and Dylan Mosier, he's been pretty consistent for us. And Hetty was off to a phenomenal start before he got hurt. I mean, just all those guys that were here last year, came back better, more prepared, I think, to play this year.
I think Blaze is another example of that at the bat.
Yeah, I mean, and he's not swinging bat either. He's hitting over 300. So, all those guys that were here last year did, really did a good job.
Well, now that we've kind of walked through your whole coaching career, what's been, the favorite team that you've coached? It may be hard to narrow it down, but I think you might have it in mind.
I don't know. I've been on a lot of good clubs, but this is probably right up there with one of them. I mean, this club, the chemistry and the way the guys get along, it's really a pleasure to work with those guys. But that 07 Oregon State team, coming out of the dumps and finishing 5th in the pack, and going on to win the World Series. I mean, that team was pretty special too. And 06 was just good all the way around. So it's hard to determine which one's the best. I mean, I had some good retirement teams, I really enjoyed coaching those as well. But,
So do you have any like pre-game coaching rituals, like anything you do before the game that's like kind of a superstition at this point?
No, not really. I used to be kind of superstitious, but really, when it comes down to it, it's not really the shoes you wear, the clothes you wear, the food you eat. It's just a matter of coming out and playing well, and getting guys up to play well. And if you can just get into the players and understand what they need to make them, excel, and that's kind of where it's at. The superstition is making sure that they're ready to go when we need them to go. So hopefully that works.
Yeah, often like teams will have crazy celebrations, in the dugout. Have you ever had any funny stories of crazy celebrations that your teams have had, or superstitions or rituals that they do?
No, actually, really, for as long as I've been in this game, we had one thing at Willamette where we were just in a funk and we were just playing absolutely horrible, and all of a sudden this guy comes up with one leg up and one leg down in his pants, and then we just caught fire, and then it was like, one leg up.
Yeah, that was it.
And so that was kind of a pretty funny one, but
that's awesome.
That was crazy. I don't know. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that go on in this game.
See, I would have thought, and I want to kind of ask about this too. What's up with the mound visits mid at bat?
Sometimes those are just to try and give the pitcher a break.
Okay.
Some 15, 20 consecutive pitches, and he's struggling a little bit. I just want to slow it down, just let him. Hey, just catch your breath. Or sometimes it's telling him, what the let's go, man. Let's get it done, man.
Yeah.
I gotta go have dinner.
Yeah.
So it's just most of the time it's just to slow the pitcher down, give him a chance to catch his breath. Sometimes it's going to be an issue with balls and strikes, obviously, and it's something you can't argue. So I just kind of make my trip and stay out there long enough for the umpire to come out so I can talk to him personally.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's a good idea, definitely. So we talked about you with some golf. You're a big golf guy. What's the favorite course that you've played around here?
I love playing golf, but there's so many good ones around here. I think. Crosswater, probably up in Bend, is probably the nicest one I played. It's beautiful. Reserve's nice. Obviously, Pumpkin Ridge. They're all nice. The nice thing about the Northwest is you just got just beautiful growing, grass weather. So, we got some very nice courses. So, but probably Silverleaf in Scottsdale is probably the nicest course I've ever played. That thing's just phenomenal. If you ever been down to Scottsdale and ever get a chance to see Silverleaf, it's going to cost you a penny because it's not. I don't even know if you can get out there unless you go with a member. So it's a nice place.
Is there any notable people that you've played a round of golf with, or is it usually just with friends or family and stuff like that?
Just friends. Friends. I haven't really gone out with the big time guys. There's a bunch of pros that play down there at Silverleaf. So my buddy who's a member down there, obviously they've got games every time I go down. I'll go down and play a game with them, and there'll be somebody that's some PGA Tour guy or whatever is playing. So it's kind of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So you pitched back when you were playing, right?
Right.
Do you ever throw a perfect game or a no-hitter?
I did, actually, and it was in my younger years, obviously. And I also did, I think I threw a no-hit up in the Port City League one time. But, I don't even, I know I have before.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly when it was.
Right.
I know I have.
Right.
So, it's one of those things, I kind of remember the guys more than anything else,
Yeah.
Just like guys I played with in the world system. I don't remember how we did or what we did, but I remember all those guys. It was a fun time.
That's awesome. You mentioned that you had, talked to some NFL teams about being invited to camp. Did you end up going to any, and what was that experience like?
Yeah, I never did. I got invited to, like I said, I got invited to camp with Seattle, Dallas, and Green Bay, but that was, pending my senior season, and I just ended up going back and leaving after my junior year. Yeah. So it was a good time, though. At the time, the roads were actually pretty good at the time. Ended up winning World Series in 05 with a bunch of guys that, signed or I played with, so it was a fun time.
That's awesome. Yeah.
How did you end up finding out that you got drafted? Because it's a lot different now as opposed to back then. What was that like?
Yeah, it was just, talk obviously all the way along the way, what's it going to take and whatnot. And then before I got drafted, obviously I got a call, said, "Daddy, we're going to take you to the 19th round." I said, "Perfect, cool, I'm in." So that's pretty much how it was.
Gotcha.
Is there was there signing bonuses back then? How did that work?
Yeah, there actually was.
Yeah.
I didn't get a whole lot, but
Yeah.
I don't know if it covered my plane ticket. But
Yeah.
they paid for that too, so that was good. That was kind of nice. Yeah. But it went back home to my folks. Whatever it was, they got it.
Yeah. That's awesome though too. Especially college kid coming out. That's always got to feel good.
What pitches did you throw when you were a pitcher?
I was mostly fastball sinker.
Okay.
Fastball sinker guy.
Got you.
No off speed, no little slider curve.
I threw a split once in a while.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a very old school pitch
I
mix.
also had a slider, obviously.
Yeah.
So, what's your plan for next season? Are you going to come back and coach here, or what are you looking for next year for coaching wise?
That's still up in debate. I don't know. I mean, it's a pretty tough one right now. I mean, I think the kids deserve more, and what it is. But it is what it is, and I don't run it, so we'll see what happens.
Winning a championship might make it hard to maybe step away. But do you see retirement anytime soon? Or?
Well, I'm not retiring from baseball ever. I'll be coaching this till I die. So
there you go.
Yeah, I got young kids coming in, and I like to see them coming up, and I've worked with guys sometimes for 10, 12 years. So yeah, it's fun to have them.
Yeah, that's like you were talking about with Anders Green on your team now. Yeah, you've been coaching him since he was a little guy. That's awesome.
He was like 12 years old. He was the second coming to Jed Lowry, and just kind of had some bad breaks along the way, and got some injuries, and just didn't pan out for him. But he was pretty damn good in high school. That's
some high praise for sure. He's shown it on the field this season. Yeah,
I had Jed too when he was about 12 years old. He used to come take lessons with me when I was coaching at Mavericks. So I've seen all those guys grow up. It's been fun.
When did you get inducted into you're in the Willamette Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah.
When was that? What year? And how did that whole process work?
When that was. I forget when that was. But, I mean, I think you have to be out of school for X amount of years.
Oh, okay.
And obviously, I had some pretty good accolades there. NAIA All-American in football, 3-time conference and district.
Yeah.
Player in baseball. And so I had some pretty good accolades. So I was pretty much, first ballot guy as an athlete.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I got a few of those. So
Yeah.
it just tells you you're a little bit older.
Yeah.
I got inducted in the NAIA District 2 Hall of Fame, High School Hall of Fame, Oregon State Hall of Fame. I mean, it just tells you you're getting old.
So I guess, as we round out the season, as the final weekend of the regular season, do you see the win streak ending? You guys are on 11 games now. And also, what are some keys to kind of finishing this thing out?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Obviously, we get guys motivated this weekend knowing that, well, now that I know we got to win at least one more, it should be all right. You guys should be up to play. But losing both our catchers, that's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough place to fill. It's going to be hard to play without a catcher that's going to be, as good, if not better than, Anhetti or TJ. So James will give it a go, but he'll do a good job. He's solid defensively, so we should be fine back there.
Yeah.
But it's tough to keep a streak like this going. But I don't know, with these guys, you never know.
Exactly.
They're really enjoying it. They really have a good time with each other. So I'm hoping we can just run it out from here on in.
Yeah, it's fun to see, fun to watch unfold. But you got anything else, Lucas?
Who would you say is the biggest goofball on the team on the Senators right now?
The biggest goofball on the Senators.
I think I got a couple in my head that it could be.
The guy that really brings a lot of energy to this club is Isaiah.
Yeah,
Isaiah.
He's one of the youngest ones. Him and they were about 19, and so they're still, the young kids on the team. But he brings a lot of energy. Matt Locken brought a lot of energy to the team. So there's a couple of good people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that's it.
Yeah, you got anything for us?
Oh, I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah, appreciate your time.
Of course. Thanks for coming on. We look forward to seeing how this last weekend plays out and see if the Senators can wrap up first place this weekend. They need one more win to do it. So we will get into the next interview shortly. All right, so next portion of the coaches or the managers edition of the podcast. We've got Tony Torcato today. Tony, how you feeling?
Good, man. Ready to get out there and play some ball here in less than an hour.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys got a game coming up pretty shortly here against the Mavericks. I guess we'll just jump right into it. Lucas, you want to start us off?
Yeah, so Tony, tell us where you're from. How did you start playing baseball?
From Woodland, California. Started playing baseball, obviously, in T-ball. Mm-hmm. My dad was my coach growing up. He played in the minor league, so he really got me into it.
Yeah. Had a good teacher.
He had a good teacher to start with, so that always helps.
What position were you growing up, and how did that kind of evolve as you continued on your baseball career?
So growing up, I was actually a pitcher and shortstop. So and transitioned over to the corners. But I was mainly a pitcher in Little League in Babe Ruth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
They let you hit while you were a pitcher?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
It was fun.
Tony was that guy, shortstop pitcher. Yeah. Did you play any other sports growing up? Football, basketball?
Basketball and football.
Got you. What positions did you play in those?
Quarterback in my freshman and sophomore year in high school. And then basketball, small forward.
Okay.
There
All
you
right.
go.
Because I was 6'1". So right now I'm 6'1". I was 6'1" in ninth grade.
Really?
So like I was, considered decent size
Right.
for,
Yeah.
basketball. So after that though, when I got to my sophomore year, I just quit because I didn't grow anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, I realized if I'm not 6'6", 6'7", I'm not going to go anywhere in basketball.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
stuck with baseball.
Yeah, focus on that a little bit. So when did the scouting start when you were in high school? What was that whole process like, getting going with that?
So my sophomore year, a Blue Jay scout was at our high school game.
Oh, wow.
And the paper interviewed him, and he said a couple quotes in the paper, and my dad was just having to read the paper. He's like, hey, check this out. The Blue Jays scout was talking about me.
Wow.
And so that was actually the first time. Pretty cool. David Bloom was his name.
That's crazy. So how did that work after that? I mean, did you get in contact with him, or was it a different scout that you ended up in contact with? Or
He contacted my dad.
Yeah.
So they kind of kept in contact.
Mm-hmm.
And then the word got out.
Yeah.
You started seeing a few more at each game,
Yeah.
2, and then maybe 4. And then my junior year, I played in the area code games in San Diego.
Got you.
That's where they're heavily scouted out there.
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so we saw that you committed to UNLV. What was the process like, your college recruitment, and why did you decide to go there?
So you get 5 trips,
Mhm.
or at least I did back in '98. The 5 were Nevada, Reno, San Jose State, UNLV, University of San Francisco, and Fullerton.
Nice.
I chose UNLV because they gave me the most scholarship. They gave me 90%, and all the schools gave me 60. So I had to go with that. In high school,
Yeah.
and your parents, just scraping by, you got to go with the most dough at the time.
Yeah.
So
That's understandable. Yeah. So how long were you at UN? Did you finish at UNLV and then
No.
get drafted? Or you were just there for?
I never went.
Yeah.
Got drafted out of high school in the first round, so it's hard to pass that up.
Yeah.
So I was reading. Were you drafted a pick before CC Sabathia?
I was, and everybody always gives me shit. Even the beat writers and stuff, man.
Yeah.
They're like, but hey, I mean, we were the 2 best players in high school,
Yeah.
so we played against each other growing up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
What
Yeah.
was that like, playing against him so much?
Oh, well, we're Woodland and they're Vallejo, and like
That's right,
we
he
were
is from the area.
We were a powerhouse back then.
Yeah.
We were number 1 in all of Sacramento area,
Mhm.
and then CC was like the top pitcher in like California. And then I was like one of the top prospects. So we played each other at Clark Field in Woodland, and 30 scouts showed up. And Brian Sabian was there from the Giants. Cross checkers, 3 different GMs.
Wow. For a high school game?
Yeah, because
That's crazy.
CC was pitching, and then they're checking both of us
Yeah,
out. So.
looking at you two. Was there anybody else on those teams that ended up going in the draft, or was it just you two?
Antoine Rollins played on there. Who else? Joe Thurston, but he was a year before.
Still
So there's a
crazy.
lot of good players.
Yeah.
But I mean, Bay Area produces a lot of players.
100%, yeah.
Everybody comes out of there.
Yeah. What were those battles like between you two? Who had the upper hand in those matchups?
He struck me out, and then I got a base hit
Okay.
off CC. So
We'll take
we
those.
gave the scouts a little bit of a show.
Yeah.
So, but he was pumping, mid 90s out there in high school.
That's great.
Beast, man. Good
Yeah.
guy too. Yeah.
Did you guys ever end up seeing each other after that professionally, or was
Yeah.
it
So
just...
after we got drafted, we had the same agent for a little bit.
Okay.
So he came to my house.
Nice.
So we hung out for a little bit.
Nice.
But after that day, I haven't seen him since.
Really?
98, because he went off to the Indians and had a Hall of
Yeah.
Fame career and all that. So I haven't actually talked to him since then.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a crazy story.
But we grew up together, played on the same team in area code games in San Diego.
Mhm.
So
That's
well,
nuts.
that's pretty cool.
That's still a cool story to have for sure. What was the draft process like, in terms of talking with teams, negotiating money, all that?
Well, leading up to, their scouts come to my house, asking questions, filling out questionnaires. A couple did like a psychological test.
Really?
Yeah.
I remember that. Blue Jays.
Yeah, the
Where-
Yankees. So I forgot his name. First name was Greg, though. Was a scout. He gave me one. The Yankees came to my house. They're like, yeah, we're probably going to take you in the top 6 rounds.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, cool. And that was like the only team that said that.
Yeah.
But the day of the draft, the Cardinals called talked to my dad and said they were drafting me 28th overall or something if I was still
Wow.
around. So either way, I was going in the first round by
Yeah.
at least 2 teams
Yeah.
that I didn't know of. The Giants, I thought maybe top 3,
Yeah.
the way they're coming at me. But first round, I was actually surprised.
Was it a preference to go to the Giants because just being from the area and stuff, or did it
Yeah,
really
I mean, that was
matter
my
to you?
favorite team growing up.
Yeah.
Will Clark being my favorite player.
Yeah, Will Thrill, man.
And then the Bay Area. I love the Bay Area. I'm
Yeah.
from Woodland, hour
Yeah.
away. So Giants have been a good pick.
So what are those psychological tests like? Like, what are the questions they ask you?
God, I can't remember, but it's just like some weird stuff, and I'm like, holy crap.
Do you remember,
but-
Gehrig?
Yeah, I do actually a little bit. Like a lot of personality, like leadership questions. If you were in a group, like how do you find yourself? Like, do you find yourself as a leader, more of a follower? If you were in this situation, how would you react? What would you do as far as if you're at a social event or an athletic event? How do you decide like what do you like? Like what's your basically personality traits?
Yeah, trying to analyze you.
Right.
And then a lot of the same questions. Mine was with the Blue Jays under Andy Pianovi, which I think he was the one that took Olerud,
Okay.
who signed John Olerud.
Yeah. Wow.
Gotcha.
Pretty cool. So I took when I was 18. I was like, "What the hell is it?"
Yeah.
So I was like, "Whatever."
Yeah.
You just
And then
play
I took-
baseball.
Yeah. Then I took another one, 07, with the Mariners in big league spring training.
Really?
Wow.
Was
And
it a lot different?
Because Mike Hargrove was the manager. It was a little different, but they made you take one.
That's interesting.
Because the coaches want to know what kind of personality you
Yeah.
have, and so they could work with you and see, on different
crazy.
things. So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
I mean, when you got drafted in the first round, how did you find out? Or did you get a phone call? Or
Yeah, so it's way different back then
Yeah.
Right.
than now. They didn't even televise or anything. The scout gave us a call on the phone. The
That's
area
wow.
scout, Doug McMillan, and just told my dad.
That's
and then
awesome.
He
Yeah.
talked to me after. But that's it, man. Like, no TV time.
Didn't learn on Twitter.
I remember they flashed like the first 15 picks on ESPN.
Mm.
Obviously, I got left out because I was 19, so
So
that was the
close.
only chance to actually get
Yeah.
on there.
So close.
So where did you go? What,
Yeah.
right
Seriously,
at.
yeah.
What was the next steps after getting drafted? Where did you go play at first off in the organization?
Yeah, so they came to my house with the contract, signed it. Came here, man. Salem-Keizer Volcanoes
Yeah.
in '98.
How short was that after being drafted? Was it like the next week, or were you just here immediately? What
Well, the
was
draft was June 2nd or June 3rd. It was June 3rd, and then I reported here like June 20th or something.
Oh,
like
okay.
that.
It's a couple weeks later.
So a couple
yeah.
weeks later,
Yeah.
came here. Good experience, man. I mean, it looks the same.
Yeah.
Same couch.
Same
you know
couch.
what? The same couch.
Same
I mean, I don't know
That's
whose
crazy.
asses, but quite a few, I'd say. But yeah, it looks like the same one from actually '97.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I
yeah.
mean, that had to be weird coming back as a coach, and
Yeah.
I'm assuming a lot of it's the same. That had to be a little bit weird. Time machine experience, maybe.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm still laughing from the
So good.
previous question.
So how long are you like here for? What's that trip through the minors like, and how long does it take you to get to the show?
I was here till like the beginning of September through the playoffs, obviously, and then off season. That's a big off season your first year. You go to instructional league.
Mm-hmm.
So I went there, and then obviously the spring training. Instructional league was like, I think it was like January or something. You go early,
Right.
and then you can report with the pitchers and catchers to get some work in.
Yeah.
But then spring training and off to the next season. So it's a grind, man. The minor leagues are a grind. You got to have the right mental to go through that. You want to live that life. You know, if you don't want to live that life, it's gonna be tough for you.
Yeah. What would you say was like the biggest jump between levels from AA to AAA, or what was the hardest one for you to, catch up with? Kind of the jumps between levels.
So like in '98 when I signed here, it's mainly like top round picks from college and high school. So they all come here, but it's Northwest League was advanced. They considered it advanced back then.
Okay.
Because you get like some top round first rounders, D1 guys, and then guys that played maybe a year or two, young guys, 16, 17-year-olds from like Dominican. So you get guys with experience. And then '99 was the Cal League, so it's a big jump to high A.
Right.
So I was 19 in high A. And that was in Bakersfield. And then 2000, back to high A, repeated Cal League. And then repeated again in 2000 for half the year. And then I got hurt. And then 2001, Went from single A, double A to triple A.
In the same season?
Same season.
Wow.
Were you just red hot, just smoking everything? Or?
Yeah, I was at like 320 maybe.
All right. That'll play.
Yeah.
And then I made it triple A in 2001.
Gotcha.
So I was like 21
Okay.
triple A.
That's a pretty good
So
pace.
they were actually going to call me up.
Mhm.
Tidrow, the director of player personnel at the time, was like, yeah, we were going to call you up, but they decided to call someone else who's been in the minor leagues for like 15 years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He had a pretty good year, so they just gave him,
Yeah.
gave him the time,
Yeah.
a month up there, so they called him up. But next year I made it up.
So did you start the next season
In AAA.
Okay, and then they call you up. How long?
It was like
into
in
that
July
season?
of 2002.
Okay. And what's your MLB debut like? I mean, what's that first time stepping on a big league field? Was there, what were the emotions like?
Words can't really describe that one though.
Yeah.
It was in San Francisco against the Dodgers.
Oh, there you go.
So like the Giants-Dodger rivalry.
That's a big debut. Yeah.
Yeah, Noma was on the mound. Obviously, so first at bat, I got a hit.
There you go.
Broken bat single off
That's
of.
the best way to
Hey,
start.
count
huh?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, broken bat.
single.
Still got the ball?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
got the ball and the bat.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Pretty cool though. Obviously a highlight of my life right there.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Did you? Where'd you start in the field during that?
Right field.
Right field.
He had a couple bloopers out there,
Okay.
misplayed, but what do you expect? You're 22.
Yeah.
I drove from Fresno that morning. Thrown right into the wolves. Pretty cool though.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I can't really describe that. So
What was your call up like? How did you find out you were getting called up to the bigs?
it was like early in the day at like 11, I think.
Mhm.
And Bobby Evans called me. He was like, "Hey, you're starting right field tonight in San Francisco." He's like, "Can you drive right now and
Mhm.
and go to the stadium?" I'm like, "Yeah." Got all my stuff, and then
Yeah.
I was there by like 3 o'clock.
Wow.
4 o'clock.
Did security stop you trying to get in the
Yeah,
players'
first I'm
parking
like,
lot?
no, I just hold up. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. Like, what's your name?
Sure, buddy. Sure.
Yeah.
I play for the Giants too. All right.
Yeah. No, actually, I think like one of the trainers came out
That's awesome.
because like the guy was like, I don't really know you. Your
Yeah.
first day here, so
Yeah,
make
That's
sure
so
it's you.
funny.
I mean, what was your like welcome to the MLB moment where you were like, all right, I'm in the show? Like, was it seeing a certain player or facing a certain tough pitcher? Or?
Yeah, I got to walk in and Jeff Kinston right there.
Okay, that'll do
Benito
it.
Santiago. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I grew up watching you guys. Like
Yeah.
I'm here right now.
Yeah.
you
That's
know?
Crazy.
And like then Rich Aurelio's right there. JT Snow, Bonds was in the training room. I'm like, dang, like all my childhood like heroes, right?
Yeah.
From like early '90s are sitting right here. So pretty cool.
Did you build any like relationships with any of those guys with your time there? Or was it more
Yeah,
just like teammates kind of passing or?
Kind of passing for the most part. Became good friends with, like Rich Aurelia.
Yeah.
Talked a lot with JT Snow. Santiago was cool.
Yeah.
Who else? A couple of the rookies
Mhm.
that called up, but the guys were veterans at the time, so you kind of just let them do the thing and want to
Yeah,
ask
right.
them a bunch of questions and like, hey man, what's up?
Yeah,
So you kind of just let them, let them be and then
Yeah.
ask them questions during the game or something. So.
What was it like playing with Barry Bonds? Like, arguably the greatest player of all time. What was it like playing with him?
Well, best hitter I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously, like the best player ever, probably.
Yeah.
And it's like watching him take batting practice that first day. It's like this guy's not even pivoting his back foot, and he's hitting balls like 450. I'm like just watching him. That was actually the first moment. I'm like, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm like, 20 feet away watching this. So pretty cool.
That's crazy. What was the toughest pitcher you faced in your MLB career, or even in the minors too? I guess you could count the whole professional baseball. Was
So
the toughest?
opening night in 2005, I faced David Wells coming off the bench.
Cold
Pinch hitter.
pinch hit, yeah.
Bases loaded, 2 outs. Felipe Alou was like, Torcato, you go hit.
Mhm.
I'm like thinking like lefty on lefty.
Yeah.
David Wells, But he was probably the toughest pitcher with movement.
Yeah.
I saw at the time. I ended up working the counter 3-2 and popped out, but I think he was probably the toughest.
It's a quality AB though.
Quality AB,
Yeah.
San Diego.
Yeah.
40,000 people. I was like, okay, I'm pitch hitting in the 8th inning against David Wells.
This is the bigs.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you're
throwing you the wolves.
Yeah.
so when you're like pinch hitting, coming in late in the 8th inning like that, you
Right.
and like take pitches.
Yeah.
You're like fastball you see, you're gonna like try to swing and make
Yeah.
contact.
Yeah.
You're not gonna like not swing, at strikes. You have
Yeah.
to swing.
Yeah.
Take
Pinch
advantage.
hitting, man.
Yeah,
you have
exactly,
to.
yeah.
So at least I worked the count.
Yeah, there you go.
What was your favorite park to play at on the road? outside of Oracle, and then we all know it's a great one.
It was Montreal.
Really?
In 03, yeah.
Expos.
Yeah. I got called up and then played out there. That was pretty sweet.
That's
Canada.
a good answer. I like that.
What was different about it that you liked so much?
I don't know, just the vibe and the atmosphere, I think, because you're in Canada and like it's just different. You know, Montreal there, like people are speaking French, right? So,
Yeah.
like not a whole lot of people were speaking the English besides the teams and stuff. But I don't know. I like different countries. Playing in different spots. So I think that was probably a highlight.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Did you when you were playing? Did you feel a little bit more pressure because you were a first round pick? Like throughout.
Yeah,
the
a little bit. When you're a young kid at 18 and stuff, you go to college, so you're playing with a bunch of older guys, mid 20s, even high 20s. So you want to perform, but being a first round pick, they expect you to.
Yeah.
I fell behind a little bit. I had some surgeries. I had like 3 surgeries by the time I was like 21 or something.
What were the injuries?
So I had dislocated both shoulders. So I tore my labrum on both shoulders.
That's nuts.
So I had surgery, open surgery, and then I had a scope done after that because bone spurs were growing in there.
Yeah.
So I had to do that in spring training.
Yeah.
So I fell behind, but I still battled, worked through it, and still made it up to the big leagues. 2 years after that even.
Yeah.
So
That's crazy.
that's the thing, man. It's important to have that mental mindset.
Were there team psychologists back then? Because I know now it's becoming more and more of a thing to get the mental game right with teams.
There wasn't. It's totally different now.
Yeah.
They have psychological coach, guy that hangs out in the dugout for that.
Yeah, exactly.
We didn't have none of that.
Yeah.
Different era. nowadays.
Exactly. Yeah.
For sure.
It's definitely more talked about. I feel like too now. Yeah.
Yeah. So I noticed that you had a few different jersey numbers. What was the jersey number selection like coming up? How did you end up with those different jersey numbers?
Yeah, so 21. Well, you get in the big leagues, they give you a number, like a lower number.
Yeah.
I'd say when you're in spring training and you're non-roster invitee or off the 40-man, they give you number 99.
Right.
You know what I mean? So when you get called up to the big leagues, they'll give you a pretty decent number.
Did you get to choose, or they dish it out?
They just dish it out.
Interesting.
The club, dish it out, and you just take whatever they give you.
Yeah.
Obviously, right?
Happy to have one.
And whatever number is available, because all the big studs got their numbers, and so really you take whatever is available. So
25 was taken. So
25.
So,
Jeff Kent, I think it was 21. I don't know. Yeah.
Can't talk him out of that one.
So I guess, where does at that point the career go, and how do you end up in coaching after that?
So Giants all the way to 05. So I was designated for assignment, they call it, in 05 in April. Went to AAA. Off season comes. 06 signed with the Mariners. The White Sox in 06.
Oh, okay.
I played in Italy and then go to AAA with them.
Wow.
And then free agent, and then 07 I signed with the Mariners. I go to big league camp and got released at the end. And then became a free agent again. And then 08 I played in the independent league in Chico, the Golden League.
Yeah.
And after that year, man, I was done.
Yeah.
No other teams were calling, affiliated teams. So I took a long break, years, 2008 to all the way to 2014. I actually tried to make a comeback and played in the Pacific Association, Bay Area, 2014, and then didn't do too well. Body couldn't handle it, and then kind of shut it down after that.
Yeah.
But
I saw you swing a fungo in BP a month ago. You laced one into right center with a fungo off.
Yeah,
The
sometimes I feel like I want to hit a little bit, but just sometimes my back, man, is just not quite 100% these days, so I can't really. I don't got that power no more.
Yeah, I mean, if it was a late game, you guys need a pinch hitter. I'm sure you can step in there and put a quality.
I want to. I want to. I want to hit it against some of these guys.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, I really do. It's just at this point, probably wait till next year.
Yeah, it's a little tight right now for the playoff push. Yeah.
What was your first step in your coaching career after you got done playing?
I coached actually here for a couple high school games. It's the Futures game, once a year, 4th of July. I did that for 4 years.
Okay.
But nothing really, organized like this.
Yeah.
So last year was my first year.
Oh wow.
Obviously managing or being a head coach, and I live out in Salem area. So when they formed this league, the Walkers got a hold of me and asked if I wanted to, coach.
So after signing with the Mariners and being released, did you stay up here in this area?
Yeah, I moved here in 05.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So I've been here.
Yeah.
For a long time. So kept in contact with the Walkers when they had all their stuff with the Giants. And I'd come, throw out a first pitch or come hang out and stuff. So we had a reunion, 98 reunion here.
Nice.
So I've been in contact with them,
So when you were here in '97, was that the first year that this was a stadium and a team?
97, but I came in 98.
Oh, you were here in '98.
Yeah.
Okay,
What was kind of the biggest surprise to you coaching-wise, something that maybe you weren't expecting that you found maybe more difficult, if anything?
Well, obviously, it's not the level of play.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the players are a tad different also. It's a little different nowadays, so you have to adjust to that.
Mm-hmm.
But not much, man. I mean, it's baseball.
Yeah.
You still got to go out there and play the game the right way,
Yep.
So I say just like the players and obviously this level of competition, it's different than like AAA.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
sure. So, yeah.
What's your what's goals? I guess do you want to continue the managing career? Or
I don't know. It's kind of up in the air.
Yeah.
Kind of just weigh my options, and it's definitely a fun ride. In this league, the Mavericks League's pretty good level. So, but we'll see. See what Gehrig Richins is going to do over here. Maybe we can get together. And do it again.
Yeah. Sure. What would you say is a big difference from last year's Volcanoes team to this year? Missing a few guys like Nick and Dave and KJ and all those guys. So what's the difference?
Well, last year we had a pretty damn good team.
Yeah.
We had some pitching like Dubé and Evan that were here for a while. But it's different. I mean, I think last year we had a tad more power.
Yeah.
I think we hit close to 40 home runs or something like. Not 100%, but I think this year we're more balanced 1 through 9.
Yeah.
I know we lost a few players, Juan and Jose. If we had them in the lineup right now, it's pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
That would have been 1 through 9, but
Exactly.
they got hurt, so now, trying to find the right mix. So.
Yeah. I think today's lineup is pretty solid when you send it to me, 1 through 9. I like the setup that you had going down.
Well, I think, compared to last year, this year we're more balanced.
Yeah.
Like 1 through 9, and but pretty comparable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously you guys know we lost a ton of 1-run games.
Yeah.
So those could have gone to wins either
Exactly.
way, So we kind of could have had the same, wins as last year, but it's baseball. Tough luck. Yeah.
What would you say is a big key for your guys' team to win the championship?
Pitching and defense.
Yeah.
Pitching and defense always comes down to that at any level. It could be a little league, high school, college, pro.
Limit the 2-out walks,
Yeah.
limit the 0-2 walks, and make plays when routine needs to be made.
Yeah.
We have
So
to make
a lot
the
of time if we're missing out on the routine, whether it be a tough ball communication situation in foul territory, whether that be a comebacker, whether that be something small.
Yeah.
I think those are the ones that get us.
Yeah.
And it's been that way. They've been really capitalizing after we do make a mistake that way. We usually get hurt, and that's hopefully we can limit that to nothing as far as moving forward.
Yeah, it's pretty tough. I mean, baseball's a game of adjustments. You have to make an adjustment.
Yeah.
You can't keep making the same mistakes over and over all year.
Yeah.
So you have to make an adjustment. Like Gehrig said, we got to make the routine plays, and we have to be good base runners. There's too many blunders on the bases. We run ourselves into outs.
That's not us, by the way. We're making
No.
some of those calls. Like a lot of times, guys want to do what they want to do as far as running up a stat line or something.
Yeah.
So that's kind of been a little bit more difficult as far as like the communication aspect from the coaching staff into the dugout, into the players, and saying, "Hey guys, like we're thinking on one path as far as how the game situation is going, who's up next, scenario type base, when they're thinking about maybe a stat line and what I can do right here.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if I do right here or not. That's not the point.
Try to
Is
win
it
the game.
smart to actually do it in this situation? Does the situation call for it or not? If it doesn't, and it's not smart, risk versus reward. And fortunately, if they're making tough decisions that way and they're going on the I, me versus the team route, that can really hurt us in those situations.
So are some guys just running sometimes without a
Correct.
sign?
Correct.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we have a lot of missed signs. I
Yeah.
mean,
A lot of miss signs.
honestly,
too.
probably a good 50
Yeah.
or more all
Easy.
year. Easily missed signs, easy hit and run, still.
So the hard
sack
part
bunts.
is like Tony and I are on the same page 99.9% of the time, just so you guys know, if you guys watching, like we are, the hard part is the disconnect between what we see and what we want to do and what our game plan is to what maybe the guys are wanting to do. And that's no knock on it's just the truth.
Yeah.
It's not a knock in any way. It's just that's what happens. And so when we're communicating with the guys and, hey, where's your head at? What's going on? Why are you doing that? Oh, I thought I had a good job. I had a chance. Yeah, I said, that's whether you do or don't. Scenario wise, it doesn't call for the situation. So for us, like in how we view it, that's where our biggest, I would say, miscommunication aspect, or as far as making a decision, it's not. Sometimes it's not in our favor because we get they do they go on their own.
Yeah, and I think we've seen. You guys started out the season so hot, and then it kind of hit this little lull, and then now you're kind of bringing it right back. And I think it's at the right time you guys are coming up, and it looks like you're trying to find the right mix of who in what order and who's where. And I think, like you guys are saying, if you can clean it up a little bit with maybe some of the communication or the base running, you guys got a chance at this one.
Yeah, you got. Remember we're fighting 3 different types of styles in the clubhouse too. You got guys that really are having a hard time speaking English. They want to kind of go into the corner there, and they're intermingling. And then you got guys that are really on the IME type guys, and then you got guys that want to play to win as a team. So when you got 3 different types of groups going at it in one, that has been probably to me the hardest within this club we're finding that cohesive camaraderie, that we're all on the same page, and getting on the same page has not been an easy task. So I think a lot of time when you're looking and viewing at a team, and that kind of almost looks like more of a roller coaster season, sometimes that can be just as simple as just getting 3 different types of personalities within what's going on within the clubhouse scenario.
Yeah.
And that's why, you see a lot of teams in the big leagues when they go on these crazy runs, and you're like, man, how is this roster 1 through 9? It's a hitting roster and pitching doing what they're doing.
They all buy in.
Well, they all buy in, and then they're all on the same page, and then you got a lot of professionals on that same page, riding that same train. You could accomplish a lot.
Yeah.
So when you have a division within teams, however that division, whatever that looks like, and trying to not and having small areas of divide and what they want to do, what they foresee fit, how the team should go, and how maybe the management or coaching staff level or other guys want to go that route, it makes it a little bit harder to try to have basically a good camaraderie foundation within the dugout.
Yeah.
Because if you got negativity spreading around through, it's not easy as the goes bad, it goes really bad. When stuff's really good, well, it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy. Everyone knows that. It's easy to ride hey, a good wave. I'm 3 for 3 today, and I'm feeling good. And look at my cup, right? But when it's not going so hot, and it's going down and ready, shit to the dugout, and everyone's going crazy. You got, guys' tempers flying around. How do you keep that even keel? And a lot of times, that's what I believe Tony, we talk about all the time, saying about the mental aspect of it. You gotta stay in the here and the now. You gotta stay within themselves and say, okay, what's the path? What's my focus? And I gotta stay. I can't go overthinking about the future or overthinking about the path that's over. It's done. How do we move forward, but in a positive manner as a team versus hey, it's just all about me and what I look like.
Yeah.
And that's a very difficult scenario when you're talking about this day and age too.
Yeah.
It's very, very different than when we play.
Yeah. So do you think, I think I know the answer, but you guys think you got a chance at going at this? Maybe not the 1 seed, but for the championship.
Look at our talent. It's not a talent thing, is what I'm getting.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do.
Exactly.
We're more than talented. What do we have? 8 all-stars or whatever on our team? It's not. That has nothing. I don't believe one bit that has anything to do with it. It's just more going to be how much are we willing to come together as a team, getting on the same page, and then attack the task at hand.
100%.
And we're adults, and I don't want to micromanage guys.
Yeah.
That's the area I came in, they didn't do that.
Yeah.
So that's what I know.
Exactly.
Dusty Baker's a manager in the big leagues, like Felipe Alou, right? Those guys are old veterans, so they're not going to micromanage. They let you be an adult and handle it like you should.
Yeah.
And if at that level, obviously, if you don't, you're out.
Yeah.
Right. So, let the guys try to do their thing, have the freedom to do what they want and stuff, but expect them to play the game the right way, and not come in and slam your helmet, and cuss out your teammate because they thought you should have got a ball out in the outfield.
Yeah.
It's off.
And it's off the wall. It's like, don't pull. But we coach. We tell them. It's not. It's not like we don't.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of individual conversations. Guys that came in here and stuff, and but I think we're going to make a run, and I think we have a good chance.
Yeah. I think you do too.
We need to mesh well, and we are right now. I think we're playing tough baseball, so I think it'll be
100%.
tough to beat.
Yeah.
It's not going to be no walk in the park.
Yeah,
I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
What are we drinking in the clubhouse if the chip gets one?
Oh, I'm going to drink
Water. Yeah. Stay hydrated.
Oh, definitely some Jose Cuervo.
Yeah.
Goldschlager.
There you go.
Take a couple of shots of that. With the heart out there, let's bring it in.
We're having a good time.
Yeah. But hopefully we get to that point.
Yeah.
Obviously, all three teams are a tough task. Campesinos are tough. Mavericks are tough. And Senators obviously are tough.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
I'm excited for the playoffs coming up and the rest of this weekend. Honestly, you guys got a big series against the Mavs. Campesinos stunned the Senators last night
in a big way.
Yeah, so it's getting interesting this last little weekend.
Yeah, good old Dave Wong, man. Guy's a veteran. Dave knows what he's doing over there.
Yeah.
He always places us perfect in the right position.
Yeah, we were just.
That's why it's gonna be tough to. It's tough to beat them.
Yeah.
Because they know exactly where to play, and it's gonna be Mr.
Well,
Wong.
every club has their tough matchups too,
Yeah.
right? Like in any level, it's like one team, however you want to look at them, one plays, sometimes the lowest and can play the highest really well and match up really well. I mean, for that I watch all the time, Tampa Bay Yankees. Like Tampa Bay owns the Yankees in my mind, but it's like, hey, any given day and any given time, as far as how it all goes out, they still, it's competing against the baseball really when it comes down to it, right? Who can manage that with the best and most consistent usually win out. So that's how that goes.
Well, what do you guys think, man? I'll ask you guys a question. What do you guys think? Who do you guys think is going to win it, and who's your picks?
All right, so my pick was the Senators, but I'm kidding you not. I texted Zach last night. I said
it's like
I have
1 in the morning.
I was thinking. I was like, I have this weird feeling that the Volcanoes are going to win. I'm not saying this just because I'm in front of you. I can show you the text.
Are you sure, man? I don't want you to say it just because we're here.
No.
You say no. We don't have you guys winning at all.
I literally
okay.
texted Zach last night. I said I have a weird feeling that the Volcanoes are still going to win it. Like the team's too good.
Yeah.
And the Senators are. I think it's going to be between you and the Senators, but I think I don't know. I have this weird feeling the Volcanoes are still in it.
Yeah.
All right, I can respect that.
I thought the whole season the Volcanoes were going to do it just based on
Just run away.
Yeah, how you guys, and especially the start and everything, and it's how it's managed and how you guys were playing. And again, even in that lull a little bit where you guys kind of went on a little bit of a skid, I still thought that technically you guys were the best team that is coming out of all these four. And I still think Volcanoes are going to do it, at least be in the championship for sure. And I think, like Lukas saying, I think it's going to be Senators, Volcanoes, 100%.
I do think the Senators lineup is not that they're better. I think that they're better at getting really hot all together as one. And I think they've been showing it recently. But I mean, both teams have good pitchers, so that's something I'll be looking for.
But it's like the pros and cons too. Like if Senators do clinch first place with one of the 3 wins over the Campesinos this weekend, they have their whole staff for that game on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you're in second place, you've got to play the first game before that, the semifinals. So the staff maybe, and it's the next day. So, but you guys, how you've been whole staffing it at this point, it almost feels like kind of like preparation for being maybe you're in that second or third place spot that you're used to this now whole staff type of game. And I mean, it worked last weekend.
Yeah,
so.
we made the change.
Tony's done an amazing job at that.
Yeah.
I called him and said, hey, dude, that move you're making right now for us as far as getting that prep going, getting that little switch and that little change up and adjustment. It's really big.
I want to make the adjustment, and I'm trying to, because that's what you have to set example as a manager is like, hey, I'm making an adjustment. You guys got to make it too.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I'm doing it, and I think we needed a change at the time.
Yeah.
and I think it's actually the guys are happy about it. So like we'll just ride that right now.
Well, that's definitely a tough decision to make. I mean, you got to put your pride to the side and just kind of be like, all right, what we were doing isn't working. Let's try something
That's
different.
why I did it.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you got to try and make an adjustment and see if if it works. And I thought the whole time that it would. Or I wouldn't really do it, but right now it's going well. So.
Yeah, I got Senators Volcanoes in the championship.
Yeah.
And then I just want a good game. I don't know how it's gonna go down.
If you guys could just keep it close.
Yeah.
I think if it's
I think we play well.
I think
you
it
could
comes
too.
down to
Yeah.
honestly, it's just going to come down to the defense aspect to me.
Yeah.
Like just playing the ball smart, and then whoever plays that ball better that day is going to win.
Yeah.
Which I do think that the Senators have the best defense overall.
In the league, yeah. I think so
Their
too.
outfield
They're
and
tough,
infield is just really good. They play together well.
They're
They've made a lot
great
of
team.
They,
They're tough.
they understand situationally what to do and execution, and they execute really well. So they're always they're gonna make you earn it. That's for
Exactly.
sure.
Yeah, that's
You know,
it.
No
they're
easy
gonna make you earn
task,
it. So you're not gonna get anything for free out of them.
Yeah.
Not
100%.
like last year.
Yeah, right.
No, yeah, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Total opposite.
Yeah. That was what was cool talking to Dave about because we interviewed him yesterday for this, and it was cool, seeing the difference between last year's Senators and this year's Senators, talking to him about
Yeah.
it.
Just one quick last question. Who would you say is one player that's really stood out to you that kind of caught you off guard that has maybe been doing better than you were expecting them to this season?
I gotta go through all the teams now.
And it could be
On-
somebody
on
who's
your-
not here.
on your
team.
team, on your team.
And it could be somebody
Yeah.
that's maybe gone now, or
Maybe somebody who
or,
surpassed expectations.
To me, Sammy Jones.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a good answer.
I like that.
Almost an all-star
I was
this
gonna
year.
say Sammy.
Yeah,
It's like
for me, Sammy Jones. I mean, just the willingness to make that adjustment,
Yeah.
and anything he needs to do, very coachable inside the dugout. Ask a lot of questions. He dives in. He makes sure he plays with all heart.
Yeah.
Like he really does. I mean, I know it sounds sometimes that's a trite deal, and
He's-
overused as far as good athletes go, but he does. I mean, he competes every day, comes out with consistency, right?
Yeah.
Like as far as he may not be like the most like sexiest player in the world, but he comes out, you know what you're gonna get,
Yeah.
and you can rely on that.
He seems like the ultimate team guy.
He really is.
And he plays
there's
hard.
No doubt.
Yeah.
He plays hard.
Will
and
play
he plays with
anywhere.
good heart.
Yeah.
You can see-
That's my pick too. I'm just
Yeah,
gonna say Sam
yeah.
Jones.
Good answer.
And Gehrig nailed it. so.
100%. And even when he makes that catch at second base last Sunday, just the emotion coming out, getting
grit.
fired up.
The difference
Yeah.
between the emotion of that and a different kind of emotion, it's a positive
Oh,
emotion.
exactly, yeah.
Positive
Yeah, he's
energy,
fired
right?
up,
So
yeah.
he's fired up, but it's in the way of like, hey, he comes in and he means, in any case and scenario, even when he messes up, he's the first one to say, that is on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to make that job. I'm going to make that change, coach. That's my bad.
That's the accountability, and that's.
And I think that's
Yeah.
where, like, a lot of time where these guys, I hope more guys pick up on that
Yeah.
and want to, start getting on that train a little bit. Because I know for a fact that it's, talent-wise, like I said, there's a lot of talent on here.
Yeah.
But that can make the difference of a player.
Yeah.
All right, well, you guys got a game in about a half hour. Good luck. Mavs, Volcanoes, game 1.
I'm pumped.
Gonna be
Yeah,
tough.
I'm excited
I'm
for
pumped.
tonight. Let's go out and have a good game.
Yeah, it should be tough. Mavs are tough, so it'll be a good one.
Thank you guys for coming on.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Really good
luck.
answers. Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. All right, we are now here with Scott Bender, manager of the Mavericks, the Portland Mavericks. I'm here with Lukas. Scott, how you feeling? Just came off a win.
Feel good. It's
Yeah.
good night. It's Friday night.
Yeah,
Good
it
night.
is. Mavericks just beat the Volcanoes 16-3. Did you see that game turning out like that? I mean, you guys just turned into another gear all of a sudden.
Not like that. If you would have asked me a couple weeks ago, I would have said, yeah. Our offense recently we've kind of gone dry a little bit. But at the same time, we've had some good quality at bats. We've had some games where we come out there and we put some good barrel on the ball. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. And today it worked out well. And when you have Carsey Walker threw a really good game for us. And that's been our nemesis all year. Has been, for lack of a better way to say it, our pitching staff has killed us in a sense of not necessarily hits given up, but throwing competitive pitches and getting into hitters' counts.
Yeah.
And then, we lead the league in walks, almost double of each of the 3 other teams. And when you look at the standings, we carried first place for a while, and it would be interesting to see if, what the standings would be today had our pitchers done a better job.
Yeah, I remember we talked to you early on in the season, and you were talking about, main goal of is getting that first strike across with your starting pitchers and getting into counts that favor the pitching rather than getting into hitters' counts. And it continued as a theme, but this Mavericks team we saw tonight really looked like the Mavericks team that was in first place for all those weeks that we had seen for so long. Kind of took for granted for a little bit there, It was just like we were expecting first place Mavericks all year. And you guys are clawing your way back, though, now. We'll get into the Q&A. Lucas, you want to start us off?
Scott, so did you grow up playing baseball? How did you get into baseball?
Yeah, I grew up playing baseball from my early days. I can remember about 6 years old. Started out T-ball, and the league that I played in, we had T-ball, you had Pee-wees. Pee-wee was a little bit of coach pitch, a little bit of player pitch, and then we had, the minors and majors and all that. So, yeah, I've been playing baseball, and actually I'm 52, I'll be 53 on Christmas, and played until I was 45.
Really?
Yeah, I did some men's league until I was 45, and that's when I stopped playing then and just focused on sort of coaching more.
What positions were you playing?
Well, I was a left-handed pitcher,
okay.
So pitched my whole life, and then if you're left-handed, you also play outfield and play first base.
Yeah.
But I remember growing up, I was telling the guys last week, back when I was in 10, 11, 12-year-old range, I was also the left-handed shortstop and left-handed third baseman and all that stuff. And funny enough, I was never a good hitter. My dad worked. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, so my mom was athletic growing up, and she played softball. And so she was the one that worked with me and my sister, and then my brother came along later, but she taught me how to hit right-handed. Okay. So threw left-handed, hit right-handed, and was never a very strong hitter. And then my freshman year in high school, I decided to learn how to hit left-handed. And there was a local scout for the Dodgers named Hank Jones. Anybody in baseball around this area knows who Hank is. And I took a couple hitting clinics from him, and at that point, my freshman year in high school, committed to being a switch hitter.
Wow.
And so left-handed ended up being my power side.
Yeah.
And I was much more confident. I'm left-eye dominant, so I think that allowed me to see the ball travel further. And so, as I got older, I became a better hitter later in my playing years.
What was the highest level you ended up playing at?
So I played 2 years of junior college ball. So for me, part of my story is, when I graduated from high school, I went to Clark College and ended up failing a math class. Got sick during the quarter, missed a couple tests. Teacher let me make them up. I had a buddy that was real strong in math, and so he tutored me on the 2 tests I was going to be taking. And man, I walked out of there and I thought, I got an A and a B, and I got a D and an F.
Been there.
And so it took my credits below the 12 threshold, and so I could tell you exactly where I was at. I was working in Sherwin-Williams part-time and going to school and playing baseball, and I was in my manager's office on my phone or on the phone with my math teacher begging her just to give me a D so I could play baseball. And my world just tumbled because anybody that knew me knew I was a baseball player. And here I was going to have to tell them I failed a class and I became academically ineligible. So sat out the spring quarter and then re-enrolled at Clark for the fall, played there that year. We had a guy come in that a lot of people in the Vancouver area know as far as baseball wise, and I don't respect the guy. And he came in and basically turned everybody against the head coach at Clark at the time. And so one by one we had to go meet with the athletic director and kind of give our 2 bits. And I just told him, I said, Malcolm Cameron was the coach at the time, and I said, Malcolm's not the problem, this guy is. And they ended up firing Malcolm Cameron. So I was there for that year, and I just figured, I'm not going to waste a year of my eligibility with what I knew was going to happen. And so I sat out a year and then went to Mount Hood.
Okay. And
that year was 1991. I believe it was 91, and that was the last year Clark had a baseball program.
Oh, interesting.
While this gentleman was the coach of the coach of the team.
Why was that? Was it just funding or?
I think probably, there's so much talent in baseball in Clark County.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't because of a talent aspect of it. I just know that the guy that took over the program wasn't the right guy to take over the program. So whether that led to it or not, I don't know all the demographic stuff behind the scenes, but I can just tell you that it wasn't what a college program should be. And so then my old high school baseball coach, who coached with us last year in the Mavericks, Don Freeman, actually was the guy that they asked to start the program back up many years later. So my whole story, after playing at Mount Hood, I worked out real hard to get ready for my season, and I could tell you hands down that I was the most prepared baseball player that came into Clark that year, or that came into Mount Hood that year ready to play.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I mean, so I just genetically I didn't throw hard. I threw 85. I think I had some outings where I was in the high 8s, but I had tryouts with the Indians and the Reds and the Cubs and the Phillies and the Pirates, and just didn't get signed.
Yeah.
We didn't have this level of baseball back when I was, I graduated in '88.
Yeah.
So we didn't have opportunities like these guys have, at least locally. So with working out real hard during the winter and getting my body ready to play, I liked how I felt and I liked how my body responded. So when I got done with Mount Hood, and for me personally, it was a crossroads. It was, what am I going to do with my life?
Yeah.
I had 4 different opportunities at a 4-year school to go to, but I wasn't going to school to go to school.
Yeah, exactly.
I was going to school to play baseball.
Yeah.
And at that point, I just made a decision. I had the tryouts. I didn't get signed. It was just time for me to get on with life. And so at that point, it was, okay, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, the fitness was something that I enjoyed with how I felt, and decided to get a job at a gym and started doing membership sales, and we did that for about a year, and then met a guy that asked me if I wanted to get in the personal training side of the gym industry.
Okay.
And that was in 1991, and here I am today, 31 years later, still in the industry. So I like to share that story with my players as well, because I'm more along the lines of, don't look back and wish you would have done something different.
Mm-hmm.
And for baseball wise, for me, I can look back and I did everything I could have done to get ready for my seasons.
Mm-hmm.
I did everything I could have done to throw harder. I did everything I could have done to get myself in a situation that would be where I wanted to be as a kid growing up, and that's to play pro ball.
Yeah.
But genetically, my parents didn't give me the genetics to be able to do that, And Alan, who, he's been my best friend. We met the first day he came to high school in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
He would often say, well, if you're left-handed, you got a heartbeat, you got a shot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, well, I'm left-handed and I got a heartbeat, and I got my shot, but I just didn't have the ability to do it. So I share that story with the guys because I want them to take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? You don't want to look back and wish you would have done something different.
Mm-hmm.
My story, if I am here talking to these guys tonight after the game, and I would have said, well, if I would have worked harder, I could have been signed, or I could have been drafted. I did everything I could have.
Yeah.
And so it just wasn't in my books. So.
Yeah. So where does the coaching aspect come into that? When do you transition into managing and coaching after, because you're working at the gym, right? So where does that come along? What's the first opportunity?
So good question. So after I got done at Mount Hood and I made the transition into working, I continued playing baseball. In Portland, there's 2 different adult leagues. There's NABA, National Adult Baseball Association, and then MSBL, Men's Senior Baseball League. So I found out about one of them through a friend and started playing. And then eventually I was on a team, and they didn't have anybody that kind of took over the leadership role, took over the coaching portion of it. So I did that. Fast forward a couple years after that, I decided to put together my own team with all the connections I had with baseball.
Yeah.
And so we had a group of guys out of Vancouver that I sponsored the team. So the baseball team was Results Fitness Training.
That's awesome.
And we would play, actually, I reached back to Don Freeman because he was still in the high school circuit at that time. So one year he was coaching at Heritage High School in Vancouver, so we used Heritage as our home field.
Oh, nice.
And then another time he was at this school. Oh, he was at Harefield, Hillsborough High School, and they used Harefield out in Hillsborough. So we used that field for a couple summers. So, he knew that we would take good care of it. And, so anyway, I had results fitness training. We had the baseball team, and I was married at the time, and just got to the point where, a lot of the guys, you couldn't even get them to pay $150 to play. Right? You tried to divide up the $4,000 registration fee, and I was too nice of a guy and took on that brunt. And my wife at the time said, "Why don't you just find a team to play on?" And so I shut down my results team and found a group of guys that were coming out of Vancouver, which is funny because my roster, we would have 18 to 22 guys on it because, guys have families and they have other weekend plans, and you're calling guys, you have a 10 o'clock game and you're calling guys at 9:30, "Hey, where are you at?" Because they didn't communicate with you to let you know they're not going to be there that weekend. So, she finally said, just find another team so you don't have to worry about that headache. So I found this other team, and it's 10 guys. Okay, and they're all like 19 years old. Yeah. And I'm like late 30s. Yeah. And so it's wood bat league, and
there you go.
I show up, and I'm like, "How many guys you got?" We carry 10. I'm like, "You probably should find a few more guys." And they're like, "No, we're committed."
That's crazy.
And they were there every weekend.
What? So did everyone just pitch?
Yeah, everybody could play multiple positions. They had certain guys that were more pitchers, and then they could fill in at other positions, and they had other guys that played positions but couldn't come in and pitch. And I pitched at that time. I eventually tore my rotator cuff in my shoulder, had surgery, rehabbed it, came back while I still played in men's league, and started pitching again. And I had one weekend where it was like somebody flipped a switch. It was all of a sudden I could throw and I didn't have any pain. Wow. And so I felt like that weekend I came in relief and closed a game and then threw 9 innings in the next game. And I felt like I could throw the ball through a wall. Yeah. And I think that was probably the best I felt that weekend. And then that was short-lived.
Yeah. But, the week after that probably wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really what happened with my shoulder. I was tender one weekend and I threw 3 innings and had 9 strikeouts. And then the next weekend I was tender again, but I pitched anyway. Yeah. And I threw another 3 innings and I had 8 strikeouts. And I woke up the next morning and I couldn't lift my arm away from my body. And so I knew there was something wrong. So I had the MRI and came back. I had a torn rotator cuff. So I had the surgery, rehabbed it. And then, so to get in the coaching side of it, so I was playing with these young guys. And then the next year, they started getting married, started having kids. So the guy that organized the league, his name was Randy Clemo. So I reached out to him and said, hey, these guys aren't bouncing back. I want to keep playing. Do you have any openings on your team? And he goes, I'd love to have you. And so started playing on his team, and then they didn't have anybody that was really coaching it. So he asked me if I would take it over. So then I was playing and coaching. Yeah, playing and coaching. And did that up until, like I said, about 2015. I had a training client that in 2010 decided to start up a tournament travel team for his kid, and a good buddy of mine that introduced me to the family ended up being training clients of mine. And so they put together this 12U team, and the team ended up doing winter workouts. They did try out and did winter workouts, and unfortunately the gentleman passed away before the program could play their first game. So the program existed for 3 years. After that, the guy that was coaching the team decided it was time for him to step down. The family asked me if I would take it over. He asked me if I would take it over. Now I've got a new wife. At the time we got married. We met in 2013. So fast forward to 2014-ish, 15-ish, they asked me to take it over, and I went to her and I said, hey, because we had followed the team, we would go to some of their tournaments and everything, and she enjoys being around baseball. And funny enough, our first date was here at Volcano Stadium.
Really?
Yep. Yeah.
What year was that?
So that was July 12th in 2013.
Remembers the date. Look at you, man.
Yeah.
That's a good guy.
So we met on Match.com.
Nice.
And we talked a little bit, email, text, and then asked her out on the date. And I said we can go on a hike, go to a movie, go to a baseball game, or go bowling. She said, let's go to a baseball game.
There you go.
So I looked. Hillsborough Hops were new at that time, and I looked, and they were out of town. pulled up the schedule for the Volcanoes. They were in town.
There you go.
So went online, bought tickets. We sat in the first row right behind home plate center.
That's awesome.
And
that's a power move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and so even better. So after the game, they had fireworks.
There you
and
go.
so I told her, I said, "Hey, I bet you didn't think you were going to see fireworks out, at your first date." So that was
That's
our first
awesome.
date was here at Volcano Stadium. But so and then shortly after that, when they asked me to take over the baseball team, I went to her and said, "Hey, they asked me to take it over. What do you think?" And without hesitation, she was like, "Do it.
Yeah.
You should do it."
That's awesome.
So she was on board.
Yeah.
So I coached that team for 5 years. We did tournaments and everything. I coached them when I took it over. They were 14U, and then we carried some of them through and brought new guys on all the way up to 19U.
Wow.
And we did Babe Ruth games
Yeah.
because we do tournaments on the weekend and then Babe Ruth games during the week. And when I was younger, when I was 17, I was on a baseball team where we were a fly ball away from going to the World Series. And our right fielder was camped under it, hit the center pocket of his glove, bounced out, tie and run scored. We go extra innings, we lose. They go up the next day. This is a team from Arizona. They play the host team. Host team ran out of pitching. They beat them twice, and they went to Fort Lauderdale, Florida for the World Series. So for me, I wanted to give this baseball team an option to be able to not only just do a weekend tournament and then it's done, next weekend tournament and it's done.
Yeah.
You get to play in this tournament, and if you do well, you get to move on to this one.
Yeah.
You do well, you get to move on to this one. So that carrot. So registered the team for Babe Ruth, and when I registered the team, the guy said, "Are you going to do the tournament trail?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Okay, well, you won't win." And I said, "Well, we got a pretty good team."
Yeah.
He goes, "You won't win." So we get to the district tournament, and we outscored the district tournament by like 158 to 13.
Yeah, I
And-
took that personal.
Yeah. Well, and quite honestly, we weren't playing that well. This team had started in February, and by this time it rolled around, it was July.
Yeah.
And we had a good team, but there were some players that just weren't clicking.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they started clicking.
There you
Right?
go.
And so we're at this district tournament, and the players they're talking about going to the World Series, and I'm thinking, you've got no shot.
Yeah.
That was our goal, but you got no shot. You guys aren't playing well enough. And one of the kids says, "Well, how about if we go to the World Series, we can shave your head?" And I'm like, done.
Yeah, easy.
Right? And my wife's like, "Why would you make that bet?" And I said, "Because they're not going to get to the World Series." Well, we ran through the district tournament. We ran through the state tournament. We got to the regional tournament in Lewis and Idaho at Lewis and Clark State. We ran through that. We went 5-0 through pool play. We win our quarterfinal game. We're in the championship game. We're getting ready to play back-to-back game that day. It's 103 degrees. And this kid, Cole, that his dad's the one that started the team, he says to me, he goes, "Hey, coach, if we win this game, we get to shave your head." And I went, "Oh, crap."
Yeah.
So we won, and we got to go to the World Series. So we went to the World Series our first year. The next year, we lost in the championship game to get to the World Series. The third year, we went to the World Series. The fourth year, we weren't as strong, and we went to regionals, but we didn't place well in regionals. And then last year, we won regionals, went to the World Series again. So it was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
The stories that I can tell
Yeah.
about all those different teams and the experiences that we had, and the stories that those kids will be able to tell, right? Nobody can ever take that away from them.
Yeah.
And so, moving forward, COVID happened. My wife wanted me to not coach in 2020. So the team that I took to the World Series in 2019, we went to Mobile, Alabama, and everybody was aging out. And I didn't feel like starting all over again anyway.
Yeah.
And so I said, "Yeah, sure, I'll take the summer off. I won't coach." And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
Right? And then nobody played. So fast forward to the Volcanoes, losing their affiliation, and they reached out to Alan and asked Alan if he would be one of the managers. And so then he immediately asked Don Freeman to be his assistant. And then he asked me if I would be interested in helping out.
Yeah.
And I talked to Jen, my wife, and she was on board with it.
Yeah.
And so I was a volunteer. Alan he paid me a little bit of money at the end of the season, but I was a volunteer and came down here for all the practices. It's an hour drive without traffic for us, and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So
that's a cool start. What was it like coaching with Alan Embry? Because I know you've known him for a while, like you said, but what was it like seeing the coaching side of him?
I think one of the more important things I got was patience. And when I say patience, try not to push things too much. Try not to be too over aggressive. Coming from coaching a tournament travel team, and we were a very successful tournament travel team, and so we could apply the pressure, and we had a high success rate. So coming into here, there were things that I felt like we could have been more aggressive with. There were things I felt like we could have covered more as far as a coaching staff to work with the players. I think Alan came in and expected, because he played so many years in the big leagues, he had a very successful career, where I think he came into this situation and just assumed that everybody knows everything.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. It's whether a player hasn't had the proper opportunity and taken advantage of it, or there's a reason why they're here. Maybe their talent level isn't where it should be to be playing affiliated ball. So Don and I think we're more on the same page. There were some practices where Alan didn't make it, so we were like, okay, let's cover this. Versus when we tried to get Alan to be able to cover it, he go, no, we're not going to do that. So what I take away from it, I think patience, managing, and just allowing the guys to operate in a pro environment, and just try to take what the game will give you versus trying to force something.
Right. You kind of touched up on it a little bit with your answer there, but I was kind of curious, what's the biggest difference between coaching like a travel ball team with teenagers to coaching a pro league here?
Good question. I think here it is easier, kind of going back to what I just said about Alan, it is easier to assume that these guys know how to play the game the right way. The tournament travel team, you have to deal with parents. Here I don't have to deal with parents, so that's nice. One of the things I've learned this year, we have quite a few Latin players on our roster, and it's evident that given the different demographics and different cultures, that they play the game differently, or players aren't held accountable in certain aspects. I would say, if you were to ask me, what are some struggles that I've had personally this year, it would be, I want these guys to be able to have success, and it's hard for me sometimes when I see them do things that aren't going to lead to them having success. Okay? And I feel like there's things that I shouldn't have to come down on them about. They're not kids. They're young adults.
It's almost like finding that line, I think, like you're mentioning with how Embry was running it. There's a line there where it's you expect a certain amount, but you can't almost expect everything, right? You got to find that line where you do come down on this, but maybe you don't come down on that. You can expect one thing, but maybe not the other. Right. It seems like you've kind of found that pocket this season. It looks like a little bit.
I'm trying. I'm trying. There was a play tonight. One of my hitters put a ball in play, and I'm a big stickler on running a hard 90, and he didn't run a hard 90, and I'm like, gosh dang it, because I feel like I can be an ass sometimes, but other times it's like you're making me be an ass because you're doing the things that I'm telling you. I tell them, don't give me a reason to not have your back. Okay. We had a situation early in the season where one of our players hit a home run. And he stood at home plate and watched it. Okay? And so I didn't punish him for doing that, but I talked to him about it immediately in the dugout. I said, we don't do that. You run hard. You may know that it's a home run, but you run hard out of the box. Just in case. Right? And I said, do you understand? Yes. Okay, well, we come up in the top of the ninth. We're down by a run. He's our leadoff guy, and he hit a ball so hard I thought for sure it was going to hit the scoreboard.
It was headed for Portland. I remember that.
And it was a couple inches short of the top of the fence, and I turn and look, and he's still standing at home plate. And I could hear everybody in the dugout behind me yelling, "Run!" And he took off, and he stumbled around first, and he tried to go to second, and he got tagged, and there goes our tie and run on second base to start out the inning, right? So I benched him the next game.
Yeah.
And I was livid after that game. And I told the guys, I said, do not give me a reason to not have your back.
Yeah.
He had a great game that day, too.
Did, yeah.
Okay? He had a couple nice base hits. He ran down 2 great balls in the outfield. He had a great game. And I told the guys, I said, if somebody called me and asked me about that player, I'm not going to put my name on the line.
Yeah.
Because if I go and I say, yes, you need to sign this kid, and then you go and do that, what does that make me look like?
Me and Lukas have talked about that exact situation, and even scouts maybe not just asking the manager of that team, but we only have 4 teams here that play all at the same stadium. Those other managers have seen that player too, so you would assume that those scouts are going to poke around to other managers. Hey, how's this guy on whatever team? So yeah, we've had that exact conversation. It's funny you bring
Absolutely,
that up.
Because as a scout, their job is to do research.
Yeah.
Right, and then as a kid is on their horizon, is in their near focus here, they have to do their due diligence.
Yeah.
When you take a kid out of high school, you're not just talking to the baseball coach.
Yeah.
You're talking to other coaches that have played against him. You're talking about talking to the teachers.
Yeah.
What kind of kid is this in school? It's not just as simple as what the kid does between the lines of the field.
Tony kind of touched on that when we were talking to him earlier as well. Yeah, a lot of stuff because he was out of high school too.
Yeah.
What's the transition been like from volunteer assistant coach into manager this year? What's that been like?
Well, I think last year there were a couple of instances where Alan wasn't here.
Yeah.
His grandma passed away. His sister got married. So there were a couple weekends where he was gone, and I was the one that ran the team, which, quite honestly, I embraced.
Yeah.
I felt like I could take care of it the way he would want it taken care of, but I also felt kind of weird doing it because here's the assistant coach that's the paid assistant, and here I'm the assistant coach that's not being paid, and I'm the one that's doing the lineup, and I'm the one that's making the calls and during the game and everything. So. When we fast forward to this year, Alan got married to a gal from Australia, and so when they were talking about their plans of when they're going to be here and when they're going to go back to Australia, he wasn't sure if he could commit to our schedule.
Yeah.
And so he shared that with Mickey, and I think the discussion was, well, can Scott manage a team if you're not here? And so I think we were going to kind of move forward with that co-manager role where if Alan was here, he was going to be the one in the lead, and if he was gone, then I was going to be the one. But he just decided that he couldn't commit to it.
Yeah.
So that's
a lot.
So that's when I was offered the position.
What would you say is like the biggest difference between last year's Portland Mavericks and this year's Portland Mavericks?
Well, talent.
Yeah.
I think we're a much more talented team. I think we have a lot more depth this year. You got a football roster. Yeah, I mean we're which it's been hard, because when you take an organization like the Volcanoes when they had their affiliation, you have a roster of 25 guys.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, so you have 25 guys that some of them may provide their own housing, but some of them need help with housing. So the local community steps up and they host players. So for the sake of numbers, let's say they're hosting 20 players.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now you have a league with 4 teams, and we have rosters of 22.
Is it 22?
Well, this year I talked to Mickey and I said, because our focus is coming into this season, that each team could have host families for 10 players. Mm-hmm. So the minimum goal was to find host families for 40 players.
Yeah.
Okay, 10 for each team.
Yeah.
So then I said, okay, our focus has got to be trying to find some local guys, so they're not using up those host families.
Yeah.
So if we can find those guys, then can we have a bigger roster, because we're not putting a stress on anything.
Yeah.
We're not increasing payroll because the players aren't being paid this year.
Yeah.
We're not increasing the host families because we're not bringing in guys. Now, every one of our managers, I bet you if you asked them, they could tell you they could have brought more players in or other players in, but we didn't have the host family numbers to be able to support that.
Yeah.
So then we're finding local players.
Yeah.
So the biggest difference between the Mavericks of last year and the Mavericks this year, I would say, last year our pitching staff, while we had what we felt were some good pitchers, we struggled weekly. And I'll never forget our first game here. Out of the first inning, we were down, and I'm like, oh man, here we go again. Because last year it was like a weekly ritual where the first inning, second inning, third inning, you're down 2-0, 4-0, 6-0. Right? And when you're playing a Thursday night game, and you have maybe Friday off that week, and then you're playing Saturday, Sunday, or maybe that week you're playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and your starter goes out and gives up 8 runs in 3 innings. Right? You can't just go pull the guy. Because you're thinking about you can't burn through your bullpen because somebody didn't get the job done. So last year, it just seemed like on a weekly basis. So I had asked Tim Hayes last year. I said, hey, do me a favor. Can you run back the numbers and the stats and eliminate the first inning and then eliminate the second inning and tell me how many more wins we would have had? And we would have had, I think it was like 9 or 11 more wins. Just by eliminating the first 2 innings of the game.
I remember that. I was actually the one who counted all that up.
Okay.
I was the intern who stuck with
it.
Shut it off to you,
So then we were looking at it going, okay, well, this is how our team could have been different this year, right?
Yeah.
So this year, moving forward and, putting the roster together, the roster is put together by guys that either submit their information into the league, and then I or Tony or Dave or at the time Alex, we're reaching out to those people, and at that point the people can sign with whoever they want. We had a tryout. We didn't have really a big turnout for the tryout, and there were only a couple players that were drafted out of the tryout. But quite honestly, I put together our roster where I didn't need to have a tryout and sign 10 guys. We drafted 1 guy, and that was Billy Cottrell. So our team this year, I think we've had a couple roster moves. I had to release a player earlier, and, if I can be honest, I didn't want to release him, but I felt like it needed to happen. But that hurt our team. Because, he was an affiliated player, played with the Blue Jays for 4 years, I think it was, and coming into the season, I felt like he was a big plus for our pitching staff.
Right. 100%.
So, going and making the move to release him, it hurt our team. But, I feel like from the numbers, from 1 down, I feel like we have the best depth pitching-wise.
I think so.
I feel like we have the best outfield. I feel like we have a very good defense in general. And I think we have speed. And, if we come out and play good defense and our pitchers can compete and we have good plate approach, I think we can come out ahead quite a bit of the time.
Certainly. Who would you say is a player that has kind of surprised you this season, maybe somebody that has surpassed expectations so far for you on your team?
Chase Broussard.
We're big Chase fans.
Quite honestly, and Chase doesn't know this, and he's going to find out now if he listens to this, he was on my bubble. Okay, at one time.
Wow.
And Champ was here. And, I think it was a pretty consistent thought process between myself and my assistant coaches. We weren't impressed by Chase. Now, Chase wasn't getting a lot of looks either. Okay, and Chase is a prime example of what we've told the guys from day one. You have 22 or 25 guys on the roster. Not everybody can pitch at the same time. Not everybody can hit at the same time. Not everybody can play in the field at the same time. And it is what it is. There's going to be 9 guys that are starting, 10 guy, the 10th guy is a DH. So when you're given that opportunity, as hard as it is, you have to capitalize. And
Chase did.
And there was a time where Chase got an opportunity and he hit the ball hard. He didn't get a base hit, but he hit the ball hard. He had a quality at bat. And that makes me thinking, okay, I got to get this guy another opportunity. So he started capitalizing. He was tearing the cover off the ball. And then he started pressing a little bit. He started trying to do a little bit more, trying to hit the ball a little harder. And then he kind of took a step back and was struggling a little bit. And then, another guy, same thing. I guess I can tell you there were two guys that were kind of in the same boat. And the other one was Mitchell Austin.
Wow.
Okay. Mitch, when I unfortunately was not here for our team's first few games because I had made plans to go on a cruise to Alaska, and it was during a time where I was thinking I was only going to be an assistant.
Yeah.
So then when I was offered this position, I told Mickey, I will be there for everything else, but I have this trip planned, and if you're okay with it, then I'll take on the job of running the Mavericks. And he said, no problem. So I missed the first few games.
Yeah.
But I did the lineup. I would have been here for game one, our very first game, and I was halfway down here when the game got canceled.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I went ahead and came down here anyway, and went ahead and did the lineup for what was going to be the next day. The next day I was leaving on a train to go to Seattle to go on my cruise to Alaska. And I had Mitch, if I remember correctly, I had Mitch in the 3-hole. And I listened to every game on the cruise.
Yeah.
Right? I listened to every game. I didn't stream it because the reception on the cruise sucks. The internet sucks. It's always buffering.
Yeah.
Right? So I was able to listen to John Meisner. Actually, I think he wasn't even here.
It was Jimmy and Evan at the time.
Okay.
What a crew.
Yeah.
Evan was great. Jimmy sucked. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
but,
well, he's not here anymore.
Yeah. So anyway, I listened to all the games on the radio, and heard the complaints about the umpire staff and this and that, and came back and got to experience it my first game, and then sat down with Mickey and I said, look, I've listened to the last 5 games on the radio and I just got to experience this, and here's my input. But so going back, so Chase struggled, got an opportunity, and he's capitalized, and he's going to be in the lineup every day right now. All right, either at first base or at DH. He's dealing with a quad strain right now, and so like tonight, we got a lead, and that's why I pulled him.
Makes sense
to try to keep him rested. Right. Another player that's been hurt and dealing with that is Victor Diaz. Victor's our number 3 hitter. He was my starting third baseman. Mitch was playing first base. Victor was playing third. Victor's dealing, it's like a heel bruise or a little plantar fasciitis. And so right now, had him in the DH, and, tonight, whether he'll be able to bounce back tomorrow we'll find out. But so a couple players, I'd say Chase was one to answer your question. Mitch was another one, and those are 2 guys that really, when they got the opportunity, man, they took advantage of it. And that's what it's about.
And I'd say that they're staples now in this lineup, Those are 2 big production guys at this point in the season.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you guys have noticed it, Mitch, for a while, he took a trip and came back, and he's been in the same hitting spot the whole time. Have you guys noticed that?
Yeah. We always talk about that.
He's been in the 7-hole. Right? And for as hot as he was, a lot of guys might say, hey, I'm going to move him down. Move him in the 3-hole, move him in the 4-hole. And I've just decided to keep him in the 7 for a couple reasons. Number one, I don't need him to go up there and try to do a little bit more because he's now in the 3 or 4-hole. And number 2, it provides stability towards the bottom half of the order as well.
Yeah, massive. Yeah.
So, and I'm so happy for that kid. And since he got back from his trip, he was, I think, struggling a little bit. And tonight he had a great night.
Just hitting the ball well tonight.
Smoked the double into the gap.
Yep.
So we've noticed that you always have a clipboard when you're coaching third base. What are you charting when you're coaching third base? What are you jotting down there on the clipboard?
I keep stats for my team and also the other team. On our team, what I'm doing, I'm keeping track of my pitchers' first pitch strikes.
Okay.
And I'm keeping track of how many hitters counts there are, how many pitchers counts there are. So across the top, it's got a 2-0, 3-0, 3-1, 3-2, and then it goes 0-2, 0-2 walk, 0-2 hit, and then keeping track of free bases. and just going through and putting slashes down every time something happens. If my pitcher goes 2-0, slash.
Yeah.
If he goes 2-1, I don't keep track of that. 2-2, I don't keep track of that. If he goes 3-2, keep track of that. And just, it helps me kind of stay engaged in the game.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times as a manager, at least for me, I feel like it helps me manage the game better.
Mm-hmm.
And so from an offensive standpoint, keeping track of whether, Rodney's leading off the game, whether his at-bat was a quality at-bat.
Yeah.
Was it a single, a double, triple, home run? Was it a walk? Was it hit by pitch? Did he get on by error? Where did he hit the ball?
Mm-hmm.
And then it'll help me kind of understand as we go through a game whether a player is struggling, and if I'm not keeping track of that, whether I'm going to mentally be aware of it.
Yeah.
It'll help me understand whether somebody's having a quality at bat, but they're 0 for 4.
Yeah.
They've had 4 quality at bats, or knowing that the guy hasn't gotten on base, but what happened when you get to the 9th inning.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm keeping track of.
Yeah.
I don't use it for any other purpose other than that. I'll talk to the pitchers. Hey, you faced 27 hitters today, and you had 16 first pitch strikes.
Yeah.
Or it helps me understand where the hitter hit the ball, so that way we can position defense a little bit. So that's why I keep track of that.
So what does the future hold for Scott Pinder? Manager wise, baseball wise, career wise, what are we you staying around? What's the next move?
I love doing this.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, last year was a drag.
Yeah.
Don and Alan and I, a lot of times, because we were all 3 traveling down I-5,
Mm-hmm.
we all 3 live in Vancouver. There were times by probably 8 weeks to go, we were just like, oh man, there's 8 weeks left.
Can't start
7
counting
weeks
down.
left.
Yeah.
6 weeks left. And so, and there were times where Don would sleep in his Explorer. He had an air mattress he blew up, and he would sleep in his Explorer in the parking lot.
There you go.
And Alan and I went and got hotel rooms.
Yeah.
And I haven't, every night, after every game, I've driven home.
Yeah.
There's not one time where I've stayed the night down here.
Yeah.
Mainly because I've enjoyed the drive. I think a big part of that is because of being around the team.
Yeah.
Being around the guys. I enjoy being around the guys. I feel like every day that we come to the ballpark, we have an opportunity to win.
Mm-hmm.
Where last year, I think that was different. It was kind of like, okay, well, what are they going to do today that's going to cause us grief?
Yeah.
How many runs are we going to give up by the 3rd inning?
Yeah.
Right? So this year, it's a little bit different. What's in store? Am I going to come back next year? I'd like to.
Yeah.
I think it's partly my decision and partly the Walkers' decision.
Yeah.
I would like to be able to say that they feel like they've made a good decision by having me be part of the Mavericks. But this is their business, so it'll be up to them whether they want to offer me an opportunity to be able to come back. I haven't talked to my wife about it.
Yeah.
She's very supportive. Last year, she wasn't as supportive because I was a volunteer.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
she's like, you're spending money. Why don't you catch a ride with Alan? He's the one that's getting paid. You're spending your gas money, back and forth and doing this, or you're paying for the hotel. Or there were times where Alan picked up my hotel room if we decided to stay. This year, she's been very supportive and very patient with the whole process. We've all year long give the guys Monday off if they want to do stuff on their own. Then they do that. Tuesday they get together and hit or do stuff on their own, but we've tried to have team practice every Wednesday. Try to give them some opportunities to, as a group, we can work on things if there's anything that we need to work on, but more so just I want them to feel like there's some leadership happening.
Yeah.
And so I think every week we've had a practice.
Yeah.
Even this last Wednesday.
It shows.
This last Wednesday they had an event here, and so we found a local school and we got together and got live reps in.
Nice.
And so the turnout, and that's another part, because the guys aren't being compensated. It's hard when you have a player that has to work, right? And so, and you're having a team practice, and you want to make it mandatory.
Yeah.
But these guys also have to work to pay their bills. So there are guys that have been here every week for practice, and there are guys that haven't made it to practice.
Yeah.
So then from a managing standpoint, it's like, can you penalize that guy for not making it to practice?
Yeah.
But at the same time, you don't want to have a culture to where, somebody else is showing up for the games and he's starting every time. But here's the other, and he's never been to a practice, and here's a guy that's at every practice, but he's not getting the opportunity. So I commend the players for, understanding that there might be some players that are blessed and that don't have to work because maybe they've saved some money or they have some help from family, or there's a guy that has to work to be able to pay for the gas money to drive to the stadium. So I feel like our clubhouse is really strong. We have a really good network of guys. It's funny, Billy Cottrell is our spark plug.
Yeah.
And I'll get some of the other players on the other team. They're like, man, that guy drives me nuts. And I'm like, you know what? But this guy, he is the best clubhouse guy. Yeah. He's the best dugout guy. He's one of the guys that's probably played the least on our team. And he's come to me a couple times. Hey, what do I need to do to get more playing time? And my response is, this is what your role is. Keep doing what you're doing. And all I can tell you is when you get that opportunity, take advantage of that opportunity.
Which he's done a few times. I mean, tonight even working the walk, scoring from first, that was pretty big. He led off that game against the Senators, gets the hard hit single up the middle, advances on a wild pitch. Mitch
scores.
Austin knocks him in, He's taking advantage of those opportunities.
This guy, he lives and breathes Portland Mavericks.
Yeah, it's awesome.
He went and got a glove, a custom glove. It's red. It says Portland Mavericks on it. It's got his name on there.
Love it.
And I'm like, man. And then I just found out the other night, so we were going to try to have our practice on Tuesday night. Mm-hmm. And then we were going to have practice here. And then we found out we couldn't have practice because they were setting up for the event the day before.
Yeah.
So then I tried to coordinate with Chemeketa Community College. Mm-hmm. Alex Emerson knows the coach because they played together. Yeah. So the guy said, hey, we just need to have insurance documentation. I got that from Mickey. Yeah. We were going to use Chemeketa, talk to the AD. They were going to charge us a field rental. I was going to pay for the field rental so we get the guys and do a live. I wanted to do a live scrimmage. Yeah. Give the pitchers live reps. Yeah, give the pitchers live reps, get the hitters live reps, get the fielders live reps. And at the Tuesday, I was so physically worn out because of working my schedule. I start at 5 a.m. every day and having my workload all day long, and then dealing with what are we doing for practice. Yeah. They're setting up at the stadium because I hadn't let the team know that we can't practice at the stadium. I'm trying to get something else lined up to where I can say, just make one communication, hey, we're not able to use the stadium, but I got this lined up for us. Well, and then that fell through because they had an irrigation problem, right? So and then, okay, well, we can't use the field. Let's just go on Wednesday, and we're able to use this location. So we got together and we did the same thing at another location. So pitchers got live reps, hitters got some live reps, fielders got some live reps. Try to give those guys some work.
So kind of, as we're rounding out the season, what would you say are the keys for the Mavericks to make a run at the championship?
Pitching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Our pitchers. We need to have outings like Carsey gave tonight.
Yep.
I think our hitters have done a pretty good job all year being pretty consistent and adapting to what the current situation is in the game and what the other pitchers are trying to do to work them. But I think really our key is our pitching. Our pitching has to give us an opportunity to be in the game. I
agree. I think you guys got a chance to, especially if you can secure second place. You only got to do the 2 games. Be Friday, Saturday, because we're not playing Sunday. So
right.
Yeah.
And I think with pitching, like you're mentioning, you can maybe try and finesse something for those 2 games and definitely be able to work it out. Playing 3 is so difficult. Yeah. But I mean, that's why there's the weight on getting the higher seeding.
I like it this way.
Yeah,
I like it this way too.
A lot more important.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, it definitely puts an emphasis on it. I was flat out very disappointed with how we played last weekend against the Senators.
Yeah.
Going back to my clipboard and keeping track of stuff. We had, I want to say it was 17 or 18 2-0 counts as a pitching staff.
Oh, as pitching staff, yeah.
We had,
I
think,
walks,
18 walks.
Yeah.
18 walks or hit batters combined. So, and then we had 3 defensive errors. So there's 21 free bases.
Yeah.
And we gave up only 11 runs. We were lucky that we didn't give up. We lost 11-7. We were very lucky we didn't get beat by, that we didn't give up 20 runs.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So then we come back the next day. Carsey pitches threw really well, but our bats were silent.
Yep. Yeah,
and so we lost 6-3.
Yeah. And his was a lot of like little bloop singles and stuff that Carsey was letting up.
Yeah,
it wasn't even like
he
hard
gave up like
contact.
10 or 12 hits or something like that. He wasn't
bleeders.
Yeah. So we had an opportunity to regain first place and to put ourselves in a good situation, and we didn't capitalize from it. So I was pretty disappointed. And then of course our game that we had on the next night, ding ding ding. That was a tough break. Umpire made a great call.
Yeah.
I don't care whether it went against us or it helped us.
Yeah.
I told Randy, I said, you made the right call right there on the spot. And
I think so too.
And he said, thank you.
Yeah.
And my team was pretty upset and trying to get them refocused and say, look, don't be mad there.
Mm-hmm.
You got to take care of business here. How are we going to pitch to Moser?
Yeah.
And they had a plan, and Moser, he beat him.
That was the Moser game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
his game.
So right now our focus is, we got to try to take second place.
Yeah.
Put ourselves in the best situation. I told the team, I sent a message out to the team chat after that game that we lost 10-8. Mm-hmm. I said, look, ideally we're playing, one game to win the championship.
Yeah.
All right. Now we got to play either 2 or 3.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like how.
That's a big difference.
Yeah, it is.
But
Absolutely.
it also depends on
are going to be tested.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll be honest with you, man. If we were in first place, we had that championship game, I'm probably starting Sammy.
Yeah.
And I'm going Carsey to relieve.
Oh, that's lethal. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
You got it set up for one day.
Yeah.
But that also leaves, if my guys hear this podcast, I don't want them to think that they're not going to have an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I got other guys that can get the job done as well.
Yeah.
And if we have to play 2 games, or if we don't take care of business tomorrow and Sunday, then we're going to have to play 3 games. I feel like we still have the pitching to do it.
Yeah. Right. And you have to make your managerial decisions based on what you think is best for the team. I mean, that's just how it rolls sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
You got anything else, Lucas?
Oh, that's it for me.
Got anything for us, Scott? Or
I want to thank you guys for doing what you do. It's been fun, except for you bugging me for my lineup every day.
Tradition.
Yeah.
At this point,
no, it's I would love to be able to have the lineup done the day before.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I've got a couple players that are dinged up, and so when we get here, I need to find out how they're feeling, how they're doing.
No, it's fully understandable.
But in all honesty, I appreciate you guys, what you guys have brought to the league. Lucas, with you doing all the stats and everything like that, from keeping track of velo and exit velocity and all that stuff. Those are things that the players like to have access to. 100%. And I think that, the league providing that and you being in charge of that is a huge plus for the Mavericks League.
Major.
And, you doing what you do, I think it brings a lot of value to the Mavericks League as well. Mm-hmm. And I think the two of you guys bring a strong partnership. So thank you for doing what you guys do.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your kind words.
Yeah, for sure. We try to bring the best product we can to the Mavericks League.
It's do our part.
Well, it's so funny. Me and Lucas will watch. I mean, even on the triple header days, right? I mean, I'm still I'm not bored, and I'll go home and I'm either playing MLB The Show or I'm watching somebody's highlights from that day of the MLB or re-listening to one of our podcasts. I don't know. It's just we're here so much, and I never get tired of it.
It's fun. It's baseball.
It's baseball.
And I'm right there with you this year.
Yeah.
Last year I would have to say, and I think I covered it. It wasn't as fun for me, but I love baseball. Baseball is, you ask me what's on the horizon for me. I have my training business, and I want to continue doing that. But if I can be involved in my life in baseball somehow, I want to be able to continue doing that because it's fun. I enjoy doing it. This isn't. I don't feel like this is work.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
there's
100%.
There's times where if I had hair, I would pull my hair out. But like I said, it's been a lot of fun, and in the drive, it's an hour. Sometimes it's over 2 hours, depending on traffic. But regardless, I've never had a day where I don't want to make the drive.
That's awesome. It's how can you not be romantic about baseball? That's our favorite quote.
Yeah.
We appreciate you coming on, Scott. We wish you the best of luck for the last couple of games here left in the season and in the playoffs. And
thank you.
Yeah, excited to see what the Mavericks will do to end this one out. It was a big game tonight. So this concludes, I guess, the manager edition of the Clubhouse Podcast.
Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah, we'll see what's in store for the Clubhouse Podcast next. for me and Lukas Anderson, Scott Bender, and all the other managers of the Mavericks League, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.